We are live. Welcome to my thoughts on Arrow Season 1, Episode 12, Vertigo. The episode is rated TV 14, so will this video be? There will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it. Did I love this episode? Let's say yes. So, I think I'm gonna start with, an overall, a theme in this episode that I really loved was this thing of grieving someone and acknowledging their flaws, not keeping to, they straight up use the word, what was it? I forget, was it Sarah? Sarah wasn't the saint you like to think of her as, Dad. And yeah, it's one of reasons, one of many reasons why grieving is so difficult, because everybody has flaws, and like, if you've known someone long enough and well enough that you feel deeply moved and you need to grieve when they die, you've probably seen the flaws, even if you might not be completely willing to admit it. And yeah, I thought it worked really well with the thing, Thea's memory of Robert and Detective's memory of Sarah, and the way that Moira and Oliver do have a realistic image of Robert, and so does, I guess by the end of the episode, Oliver has some idea just how realistic the image she has of Robert is. And yeah, Laurel has a realistic image of Sarah. So, yeah, really, really nicely done there. And other than that, can we just appreciate this episode might as well be called Dare, like, with, the acronym, big bold letters, like. So the Count, other than the fact that evidently, he left Sesame Street and crossed to the wrong side of the tracks and took a real hard turn there. Holy crap. I kind of love they do sort of give him fangs. I don't know if that's I don't want to be insensitive. I don't know if that's the actor's actual teeth, but he plays into it in the performance, in my defense. But, we meet this guy, and, like, within maybe 2 minutes of screen time, he shoots to at least near the top of the villains of this show so far. Like, holy crap, the thing of injecting this guy and then explaining, he feels intense fear, and then he hands him a gun, and the guy's about to flip a coin to figure out, and yeah, of course, he shoots himself, because, like, who is gonna want several days worth of intense pain? And, like, I think if he did shoot the Count, are the Count's guards really gonna shoot him? Because it's like, they'd be doing him a favor, they know that, and it's also like, how loyal are they to the Count? Like, once he's dead, it's like, well, okay, we can find someone else to guard. But yeah, he's one of the most, in a show that has some of the most memorable comic book villains that, like, step right out of Saturday morning cartoons, like, that level of like, wonderfully OTT villainy. Like, yeah, the Count's one of the best. I hope whoever wrote that scene got a raise, because holy crap, just, yeah. I've said it before, a great way to explore a character is to see them in a situation where they feel like things are somewhat out of their control. And this doesn't go quite as far, it doesn't go to that extreme, but it is heading in that direction. He even says that he feels confident that the guy didn't give anything, and it is like, yeah, he gave the name, and then Oliver goes to the cops, and they're like, yeah, the Count, and water makes things wet. Like, what do you want? That this is nothing new. The name is nothing new. But yeah, and right. I think before I proceed, I do just want to note, if you have the Blu-ray of this show, and for whatever reason haven't whatever grammar watched the deleted scenes for this episode, I thoroughly recommend. One of them reveals, although this is also, you can also learn this on the IMDb trivia for this episode. The mechanic, not the one who talks mostly to Oliver, but the other one, the one that the talkie mechanic said he was going to send to kill his family. That guy's apparently CI. He was the one who gave the information about the meeting to McKenna. So that's interesting. I wonder if Oliver's going to get in more trouble because of that guy. And that also really underlines how complicated these situations get with, okay, vigilantism in the real world is much less frequent than in comic books. But, because he did, let's see, the guy, was about to shoot him, and Oliver, grabbed the gun, and, it wasn't completely without hurting the guy, and now it turns out the guy's actually a CI. I think what was the other one? There's one where the Count is instructing, and practically not what's the word? He's the thing that the guy with the stick does at the orchestra, waving the stick. I forget what it's called in English, but yeah, whilst repeating the instructions and moving around, not quite dancing, but moving around more than he needs to, and just, I love this guy's performance so much. I think we're gonna get, so I love how Batman Begins-y the the entire opening bit is with being filmed from the perspective of this guy. And he's chased down, and suddenly Arrow is on the other side than he expected. Just, I love this thing of how Arrow can just disappear and reappear. He does it after interrogating him as well. There was a second or two where I thought, did he hang him by the hand? But thankfully it was just the sleeve. That's okay. That's a bit intense, dude. But yeah. Let's see. I think him talking to Dig, and this thing of, well, your sister's hearing is in a couple of hours, she's gonna want you by her side, and the little thing of he walks in and he's this, what's the word, he's trying to shield her from the reality of it by, talking to her as if this isn't a really, really serious situation. Just talking about, judges don't appreciate being fashionably late, and don't do tic-tac-toe, and all these things, just, yeah. And you can tell, there's this look on her face, she gets, she doesn't say, I know what you're doing, but you can see it, that's something she's thinking, and yeah, she maybe does kind of need it right now. She's really not, she's genuinely struggling with this situation, and it is that thing of, I made a joke about affluenza in an earlier episode. It is a lot of rich people, they just don't understand the consequences of their actions, which does not absolve them of guilt. I do appreciate that, but yeah, all I'm saying is they should be held accountable, just as anyone else, and we should definitely tax them more. That will make just a world of difference, literally life-saving for so many people who need that money so much more. I think that does bring us to... I think the next scene I feel like was yeah, so I've said most of what I wanted to say about the introduction to the Count. Yeah, I love the way it was filmed and edited, the little effect they do to make it clear that, yeah, he genuinely does feel dizzy. And I don't know this character from the comics, but I did read the IMDb trivia. Apparently, yeah, he is a villain in the comics, and it's more like a superpower than a drug that he administers, or if I understand correctly. But yeah, really cool and a good way to incorporate him. That the yeah. Let's see. I think that almost covers everything. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he genuinely says, no, you go ahead and shoot me, get revenge, you know, because I did just kill you. It's just not going to take full effect until you pull the trigger or several days from now. And just, yeah, you know, because they do, you know, we saw it in pill form before. And, like, this is one of the things I love about the Count. He carries around the syringe specifically to use as a weapon on people. Like, legit. There's no other purpose for the syringe. He says injecting it directly into the bloodstream is basically gonna kill the person that you do that to. That's all you can do with like a syringe. You can't. There's nowhere in the body where you could get. He actually uses it. Just, oh my god. I'm okay. Then we have the hearing. I believe that is the next. So we're gonna. That's the one I'm gonna talk about next, at least. I thought it worked really well. The way that, yeah, you know, the judge calls them on it. And it is very unusual, although it does occasionally happen to see a powerful person being made an example of. And yeah, you know, the judge understands why the two sides are, you know, yeah, why they got to this plea deal. And yeah, this thing of, you know, she's a minor. Technically, she's 18. You know, which, yeah, I honestly don't know the law about that. If she was 2 days shy when she was arrested, but she's over 18 when she's in front of the judge, I don't know if... I mean, I do know there is a... They can try a minor as an adult, so that might be what's going on. But yeah. And yeah. Right, the paparazzi, again, on the way to the... That is one thing. I have probably made clear in this video and elsewhere, I have not the hugest amount of sympathy for the rich. A lot of the problems they have, they could solve. Like, there are a number of problems that you encounter when you are rich. I'm not pretending that's not the case. They're not anywhere as serious as the ones faced by the poor. And the thing is, if you're extremely rich, you can actually do something about that. You could spend your money on good causes, which, like, if you're extremely rich, it's going to take you an eternity to actually spend all the money. But along the way, you're going to earn a lot of goodwill and a lot of the problems. Like, you know, a lot of rich people feel unfulfilled. Well, that's a way to feel fulfilled. You know, they get a lot of negative attention. Again, that would help solve that. You know, they're paranoid about losing their wealth. Again, a solution. So, however, one thing I definitely do feel I do feel bad for powerful people having to deal with paparazzi. I don't think anybody should have to deal with paparazzi. I hope that one day it is just straight up made illegal to be... Because, like, you realize... in case anyone watching this video is not anti-paparazzi, maybe even pro-paparazzi, you realize that what they do... Like, it's extremely close to already being illegal. If you take an unsolicited picture of someone in a private moment, but you don't sell it, that's against the law. But if you sell it, you're a paparazzi, you know? And some people make their living like this, violating other people's privacy and just... yeah, showing them at moments that they really don't want displayed. Like, listen, if you are amazing at taking pictures and you really badly want to reveal something, my dude, do it against criminals. Don't do it, like, don't take pictures of, like, celebrities sunbathing topless and crap like that. Like, just, yeah. Paparazzi, I have almost no sympathy for whatsoever. And to be clear, I do appreciate... I don't know if it's still the case, but I know that when they were first created... I'm talking a lot. I swear, I'm almost off paparazzi. I am aware that when it was created, it was actually, like, the very first paparazzi had basically no other option if they wanted to make money. And, you know, under capitalism, we do have to make money. It's the only way to live. It's the wrong way, as Martha of Marcy May Marlene points out. But that's something you can solve. You can make a social safety net that, you know, like, yeah, and like create other kinds of jobs that just, like, again, seriously, if you're an amazing photographer, like, I'm sure that this is not 100% up to the paparazzi. So here I'm talking like governments, but yeah, make jobs for them. Make it so that there is, make it so that there is that there are job opportunities where they can just take pictures of people who want their picture taken, you know, in situations where they want their picture taken. I don't know. Maybe they could help teach aspiring photographers how to do it. You know, there's just, yeah. I'm gonna move on. I think I spent too long on that, but I just really can't stand. Yeah, private moments should remain private unless you're, like, committing a crime or something. Anyway, yeah, I really appreciate that Laurel showed up for the hearing and genuinely helps after that. I think the next bit was the bratva, so let's do that. And yeah, that was such a great, you know, and a reference to KG Beast, really cool. And the thing with yeah, they have to test his loyalty because it's unusual. You know, we haven't heard from you in a while, and you are American. You know, makes sense. So yeah, it's really good that he told Dig to just go along with it, no matter what he says, no matter what he does. You know, because, like, yeah, he gets that there's some chance this is gonna be required, that he's gonna have to, you know, fake kill this guy. And even with that, Dig is still like, dude, are you, you know, and you're like, you really think so low of me? And, you know, yeah, turns out he, I guess so by the end of the episode, we realize he knows because the mentor did it to him. Did Xena teach the mentor, or did the mentor teach Xena? But yeah, that was really cool. And then he brings him back to life, and the guy's like, oh, and then he knocks him out because I mean, what else is he gonna do? Is like yeah. So yeah, and we practically get a trunk shot and everything, and he's like, okay, you gotta get this guy a new identity, and yeah, get him across get him outside of the city, and get him an entire new identity. That is something you can just do, right? Because apparently you can in Hitman Blood Money. So, and yeah, Thea, yeah, it becomes clear, it's going to be difficult to keep Thea out of prison. And, yeah, she actually starts to process maybe this is just, yeah. And Oliver, I forget if it's that scene, but Oliver points out, it's going to ruin her life if she, yeah, I think that's after she rejects the deal with Laurel. But yeah, and the conflict between Thea and Moira comes to a head. Earlier she said that she wished that it had been Moira on the boat instead of Robert. Did the actor playing Robert write that line? Like, come on, man, I could have. I don't want to only do flashback scenes. But yeah, now there's the thing about yeah. She says, I don't want to hear it. You're a liar and a cheater. And Moira says that's enough. And Thea says, well, you won't have to deal with me for much longer. As if Moira just doesn't care that her daughter might go to jail. Like, it's just, yeah. And again, it is this thing of, in part, the misunderstanding that she thinks that, Moira is cheating, and also and the fact that she doesn't know enough about Robert, and also the this thing of rebellious teenager kind of thing, and rich person, not listening to reason. I really love how soap opera parts of this got the various conversations that'll start, and also the bit where Oliver tells Thea about their father, and then we see that Moira overheard, and she even says, "How dare you? You have no right." Something like that. Just yeah, wonderful. I've said it before. Sometimes comic book media just works best if there's at least some soap opera going on. It can be very difficult to avoid without going like super gritty and you know, um, yeah, when by the time this show started, we were ready to just not have everything comic book movie and a comic book live action be super gritty, because we had gotten a bunch of that. Um, I think, and yeah, later Thea does, now that she knows it is better. That was also yeah. There's a part where Moira and Oliver talk about you shouldn't have told Thea, and then Thea's like, yes, it was good you told me. Just these yeah. I think that does pretty well get us to. So yeah, so Laurel going to detective, and yeah, making the point about Sarah, and in fact, even the thing about we've been blaming Oliver, she has part of the blame. She knew, she got on that boat. She wasn't kidnapped or something. Um, which just really makes me want to see like Taken, but with detective instead of Liam Neeson. Not that Liam Neeson wasn't amazing there. I think does that not bring us to the but yeah, she they make the deal, and the thing, Oliver thanks Detective, and Detective is like, I did this for Laurel, not you, you know. Still can't stand Oliver. And yeah, the deal itself, very, very smart, you know, community service and probation. Yeah. And it does sound like Thea is gonna be really frustrated with it. Yeah, that's office work for you. I've been there. Um, Gotta find every file in this document, a pile of documents or whatever, that's dated March 2007. Yeah. It's if you're not super into that kind of work, it I hear it can get really, really frustrating. You know, I love structure, so I have, yeah. When it comes to work, I like to just be able to do routine stuff, but not everybody feels that way, and yeah, um, I think that does. And yeah, at first Thea actually turns it down, you know, and Laurel is big enough to say, if you change your mind, you know, it's a standing offer. And I think that does. I guess I might as well talk about it. So yeah, the thing about, you know, well, now that your license has been suspended, I guess I'll pick you up at 5. Make it 6. We have a lot of work for her to do. Maybe I should make it 7. And Thea does thank Laurel because she does appreciate that List genuinely is such a major, like, holy crap. Um, I think that might be. Yeah. So everything else is count related. So let's and all, yeah. Let's. So I already talked. Yeah. So the meeting. Yeah. I think you already realize I really love the part where he says, "Let's say yes." But yeah, he goes. Yeah, you know, the meeting. Oh right, one of the deleted scenes is Oliver going to pick up the money, and like talking to one of the women at the bank and being like, you know, um, I hope to tank you with you one day. That's why I care about your dancing lessons, you know. And I, I don't know. I don't. That was not the most important scene. The other two I wouldn't have minded stayed in the episode, but I can imagine it ran just slightly long, and that's why. Um, I think that yes. So the meeting itself, just the we're told that the reason he's called the Count is because of the little they look like fang marks on the necks of the people that he, you know, because he experimented on like homeless people, and his lair is in a juvenile detention facility that's been shut down because of cutbacks. Like, holy crap. And he walks up and he's like, you know, so, wine is measured in years, how long it took to ferment. Vertigo is measured in lives. 56 people died to perfect this drug, and I assure you they did not die in vain. And just, oh my god, this guy stepped right out of like a, you know, war on drugs propaganda, you know, short film or something. Like, you could practically, I keep expecting there to be like a freeze frame on him and just say no, or not even once. Amazing. Just, yeah. Okay, then we have the yeah, the cops show up, which is, it's such a great, because like it sounded like a good plan, you know, just buy the drugs and then, you know, surreptitiously follow him. But no, the cops show up because the Bratva CI, you know, he has no idea that the Count's days are indeed numbered, you know. possibly so low that it was a number that he taught kids to count up to. And yeah, Oliver, of course, runs after the Count and tries to get him, and then the injection, and just, yeah, amazing. Um, McKenna being a badass, driving and firing, like, holy crap. That was so freaking cool. And she got several of the guys. Holy, yeah. I hope she comes back. And yeah, we get a little bit of how she was also, into partying when she was younger. Um, I I kind of adore that everyone who like either remembers Oliver from before the island or is meeting him for the first time but has heard of him. It's very love-hate. Like they're either like Oliver or like Oliver. There's no middle ground. I don't think there's even one person that we've seen like react to him that like knew, Oliver and like just was like Oliver. Um yeah, and it was very nice of McKenna to call because like, it's not necessarily something cops do. Call civilians and tell them how a case is going, but yeah, she just like Oliver cares. And right, and I also really appreciate the thing. We get some details about she partied hard and now she's undercover in clubs and such, as sometimes. But she says one of the things she loved most about him back when they knew each other more, like when they spent more time together, and that's also because it's been 5 years. Several of them, they used to be just young party people, and now they have jobs and such other than Tommy. But that's changing, I feel like. But yeah, the fact that she loved that he loved his sister so much. I think that right yeah. Just so I'm not constantly phoning over the Count, let's phone over some flashbacks. Yeah, really cool that after a while we realize, that's what I see what's going on here in the ring there, but. Yeah, and he got him a map, and I mean he was underwater, but I guess it was laminated. I can buy that. And a word on there: survive, and that is genuinely so clever because how else is he gonna get him out? He can't just unlock the cage. He has to make them believe he's dead. Otherwise, they're gonna keep looking and they'll eventually find him. There's simply no way. And like, I mean, even the fact that he did come back for the mentor, that was a mistake, and the mentor is trying to address that. And I think, yeah, the part early in I think the first flashback where they talk, and yeah, I was also thinking, is he gonna let him out or what is and by the end of the scene he's like, I can't let you out of here. He just leaves the water, and yeah, Oliver is of course frustrated because he's like, I thought we were friends or something. I think of the two of them more as mentor and manatee. I mean mentee. And yeah, because a manatee is that thing that Charles Nelson Riley, according to Weird Al Yankovic's song at least, made Sweet Sweet Love to. Oh yeah, that was something to see, I tell you. The music video was very tasteful in its depiction of it, but yeah, and Oliver, of course, in frustration, knocks away the water. I feel like there's two modes for prisoners in American, movies and shows and such, reacting to being served food or drink. Like they either knock it away to make a point, or they eat or drink like they haven't had anything for a while. I'm not necessarily saying that those are wrong. Like they're effective. It's just It's fun that those are like the tropes. I don't think I've ever seen a third option. No, they're never just like neutral. I think it got cool. Send it back. But the so he's brought to the ring. Can we take a second to appreciate that at least so far, whenever we see Deathstroke on this show, he's hurting someone. It's not always a fight. Sometimes he's like carving, you know, something into Oliver's chest. But he's literally never just like chilling with a beer and just like watching the game or something. Like, my mental image of him is that he's like perpetually like when he's asleep, he's like, he every night before he goes to sleep, he like stabs his knife into some like poor sap that they caught that day on the island, and doesn't take the knife out until he wakes up, and then he goes to beat up someone else they caught or something. Just like, that's him waking up in the morning. You know how some people will do like push-ups to get pumped in the morning? He yeah, for him it's violence. Or maybe he does push-ups, but he has like a knife in each hand, and each time he does a push-up, he's stabbing into something. I did briefly think like, okay, there's no way that like Deathstroke would make minced meat out of Oliver, so it can't possibly be that he's gonna fight. But no, it's the mentor that's gonna fight him. And yeah, it was very clever because like obviously he's gonna win, but it's not about, is this a challenge for him? For the guy in charge, it's just about, it's a loyalty test, and it's one of those that I will admit that is a trope I really love. The loyalty test, where it looks like they did exactly what they were asked to do, but in reality they had something up their sleeve, and now the other person is actually doubly, and if they had doubly disadvantaged, and if they had just had someone else do it instead of administering a loyalty test, yeah. I think that might just about cover. I have to wonder also if the reason that they made Vertigo such an intense drug in this episode, if that's maybe a thing of like, you know, by the time the episode aired, a lot of people were coming around on pot, for example. Maybe primarily pot, but yeah, so they kind of had to say, no, like, don't worry, we're not just saying, oh, you can't, you know, take a little, inhale a little bit of marijuana. No, this is like a big deal. I think, yeah, and we also have the trope of like, the drug being used as a weapon, even though it's normally, yeah, something supposedly pleasurable, like in Dread. That's D-R-E-D-D, not D-R-E-A-D. I Right, I like the scene where yeah, um, Tommy and Laurel in the morning, and the thing with, well, if I mean, he's like, oh, I want to snuggle, and she's like, well, if you were awake sooner, maybe we could. He's not a morning person. Um, let's see. I think the let's see, the yeah, and the slight awkwardness between Oliver and Tommy. in that scene. Also, yeah. So yeah, Dig manages to get Oliver back to the lair, get his shirt off because it's obligatory, and the yeah, you know, briefly he actually grabs him by the throat. Like, holy crap, yeah. The drug really, and that is the thing, the drugs can make people do horrible things. Right, have I made clear I am not a prude on drugs, just like, be responsible. And yeah, I am not the right person to talk about what should be done as far as legislation, but definitely, like, there's room for a lot of loosening. And certainly, marijuana has been proven to have a lot of beneficial effects. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do drugs, be smart about it. Don't let it ruin your life. Um, yeah, it's one of those things. There are some things in life where I go beyond saying everything in moderation and say, you know what, maybe for that, just read up on it, and maybe it's not the best idea to do, but there's a lot of drugs that you would. I mean, there's so many people by now who have, like, presence on social media who will tell you, listen, I used to do this drug and that drug and this other drug, and I'm fine, just, yeah, be smart about it. But I think that does bring us to, yeah, it's no wonder he ends up handcuffing him. And at first he's not even going to let him go. And then he points out there might be after effects, and we do see that for the rest of the episode, which is also a really cool setup for the last bit of the episode, because yeah, he still, he can't hit with they already made a William Tell joke, and now it's just a straight up, I mean, he's holding it instead of putting it on the top of his head, and it's a tennis ball, not an apple, but still. And that is tremendous trust Dig puts in Oliver, because, like, deep down, Oliver too knows, as Dig knows, as the audience knows, there's no way he's going to make that shot. And Dig trusts Oliver to not take it, not attempt it, and miss and hurt Dig. I think that does bring us to, what was the other thing? Yeah, later on the stairs, and I mean later than him waking up. I don't know what's in the thing that they drink when one of them has been poisoned, but I do kind of love that it is apparently just this, like, I mean, at this point I have to assume it's magic, because, like, Vertigo is this other, like, I could maybe see how, because, like, let's see, the other, some of the times it was used, at least it was against Curare, and I was sitting there thinking, okay, maybe he has an anti-Curare thing for some reason, like the mentor advised it or whatever, sure. But Vertigo doesn't seem particularly much like Curare, so yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm here for it. It's very comic booky for it to, yeah. I think that does more. Felicity. I'm so glad she's been in so many episodes. I hope she keeps showing up. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Oliver goes up and says, I thought I could find you here. Can we move away from the window for a second? Because I have a hangover. And then she's like, and there's yeah, there's the thing about, I'm careful about what I put in my body. I've noticed. I said not noticed, didn't I? She's so adorable. And the thing about, if it's an energy drink, why is it in a syringe? I ran out of sports drinks bottles. And, like, her face, it's like, okay. And Dig is also like, your BS is getting worse. I'm aware. Which also, yeah, I mean, I think we've seen at least one of the side effects of Vertigo. Um, in addition to becoming obsessed with a woman that you felt confident you saw die, yeah, getting real bad and coming up with a fib. And I'm like, he clearly came up with that on the spot. That's part of why it was so bad. Why did you say it was an energy drink? Like, just say that it's like, I don't know, some experimental medication maybe, or something, you know, like, because the moment that you say it's an energy drink, yeah, she's gonna wonder why it's in a syringe. So yeah, it's doing a number on him. I think it's again one of those things like, when he is so perfect at the archery, you gotta give him a little bit of weakness here and there elsewhere. Otherwise, he's just gonna end up being kind of a bland character, boring to follow someone who's just like, I'm. I may have said it before, but it certainly bears repeating. Um, Characters who are just perfect at, like, for example, combat. Let's go with that. If you don't give them some weakness that is going to make them more, if not relatable, at least interesting, the character's probably not going to work that well outside of a video game and some comic books. I'll admit, I've read some comic books where it's like, okay, this person is just friggin' unstoppable, but the moment that it's a movie or a show, you know, yeah. I think that does bring us to... I think I'll briefly talk about the other Felicity scene. Yeah, thank you for meeting me here. I'm scared to go to your house. Aww. And yeah, she's like, Oliver, Walter told me this, and it got someone else at the company killed, and Walter killed, and I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't like you very much. I was thinking of ending on that, but I do want to definitely note, yeah, it's really interesting that now Oliver knows that his mom knows. Because, and also the bit with, have you ever seen something like this book before? Something like, I have not seen this book before, no. I certainly don't have a matching copy with some names crossed out. That's, nope, not me. And I did also wonder if she was, like, gonna come right out and say, I know your arrow, but, yeah. And the thing with, you've told me some obvious lies, and I still trust you. Why? I have one of those faces. I'm sorry. Yes, you can trust me. But yeah, that's going to be really interesting. Because we already know that part of the reason that I'm not sure has it gotten a name yet? I'm just gonna go with the conspirators. They that they don't. The only reason they don't go after Oliver is because they think he doesn't, he knows nothing. And I'm not sure if he realizes that, or if he maybe thinks he can take them on, or if he's going to be strategic, because, like, would it help him if she knew he knew? I'm not sure it would. He might try to spy on her. So yeah, it's a very interesting position to have them. Loved seeing a little bit where Felicity is less like. There's still a little bit of awkwardness there in that last scene, but there's a little bit more seriousness also. She genuinely is like concerned about this. Um, but yeah, then we have. Holy crap! Oh my god, I can't believe I almost forgot to talk about. So yeah, awesome way. Yeah, the bit with you forget I don't need the bow, and he does go up to the place and some really awesome fighting as usual. And yeah, some of the time he's struggling, because of the drug, but he does manage to get in there. And yeah, you know, he gives the Count a taste of his own medicine, which is such a fun. Yeah, I'm really glad. I was a little bit worried because I've seen other pieces of American media where it looks like, oh, they're gonna get they're gonna get a taste of their own medicine, and then something happens that the hero or anti-hero just kills them after giving them something that would have given them a slow death that they used on others. And I watched that and I was like, why just let it be. It's so much cooler like that. If we're going for this kind of catharsis of them getting a taste of their own medicine. And let's see, I think that does pretty well cover. Let's see. Okay, yeah, the thing about, so, Oliver, there was a Russian mob, deal, and a witness placed you at the scene. And Oliver's like, well, they must have seen wrong. And then it's, McKenna's like, I saw you there. And it's like, oh no. And it's like, of course, it makes sense that at least one of them, because he wasn't like covering his face or anything. Um, they're trained to get a good look at people in a very short amount of time, even if that person is like trying to run or something. So yeah, and yeah, it's a really well done. And that's again one of the. I'm sorry, that's so wonderfully soap opera. I can't believe you dealt with the mob. You're just mad because I told Thea about Dad. Well, you shouldn't have told. Yes, it was good that he told me. Just all this. Oh, I love it. It's one of those things. I feel like soap opera, when it's emotionally resonant, I don't think it's a bad thing. I realize some people just say, no, soap opera is just bad automatically. I think it's only bad when it just doesn't quite work. Like, I did spend some time watching The Days of Our Lives. Probably others, but that's the one that, like, I remember. Was Melrose Place a soap opera? Because I did watch some of that as well. Anyway, yes, I think that does bring us to, so yeah, there's a couple of things left I want to get into. Let's see, the bit with the yes, I really loved the last bit we see in this episode of The Count, where they talk about, his condition's still critical. I've never seen someone survive this long after this high a dose of vertigo. There'll definitely be, it'll have done damage to him in this and this way. We don't know yet if it's permanent and how much damage and what the damage looks like. And you see his face. And the actor does such an amazing job because, like, seriously, try it for yourself. It is not easy to do a good job of he's, yeah. I love that because on the one hand, if they don't bring this character back, I am satisfied with that because, yeah, he ruined lives and now his own has been ruined. It's not something I want done in the real world, but sometimes in media it can be cathartic. And yeah, people who, like, if you have any other option at all, yeah, don't, like, okay, so I already made clear I don't have as, hard negative stance on drugs. Like, it's worth noting the war on drugs was about the US government controlling access to drugs. It was not about no one, should get drugs. You can read up on that, or watch videos talking about it. I don't remember that many of the details anymore, but yeah. Um, uh, so it would obviously be silly for me to then go on to say you shouldn't sell drugs. What I will say is, if you are at all involved in drugs, there shouldn't be violence surrounding it. We do also, I do appreciate, one of the things is we need to, like, change laws on this, but yeah, if you have any other option, if the only way you could be selling or buying drugs is with dangerous violent criminals, then try to find another option. That's all I'll say on that. But yes, so that's one. If we never see him again, I am satisfied that this. However, they could bring him back, and we could see what Vertigo has done to him. That, yeah, there's something really potent there. So I'm Arts Cafe. I swear I'm not trying to spoil the show for myself. I'm not gonna, like, try too hard to figure out what exactly is coming, but yeah. And I did also really appreciate the thing about, Arrow manages to get to the uh what's it called? Yeah, he gets into position to he starts injecting, and yeah, Detective Lance, points a gun at him, and Oliver's first instinct is to basically use the Count as a human shield, or a undead shield. Um, and yeah, Detective Lance does manage to talk him down, which I do appreciate. And that's also, again, he's recovering physically and emotionally from the drug, and he really, really hates the Count by now. This is for the dose he was given. It's for his sister. It's for the 56 people he experimented on. Just, yeah. But Detective Lance does manage to talk him down, and he escapes. And, it is true. He says, people think you're a hero. What if they saw you now? I guess it's a good thing this scene doesn't feature any paparazzi. And yeah, he says, if you do this, you will be what I've always said you were: a maniac, a psycho killer.